Hey everyone, wanted to talk to you today about plant growth. I wanted to talk to you about a barrel method that's going to help you to understand why the grass isn't greening up in some areas and why it's doing wonderful in other areas. There's a concept known as the barrel concept, and every slat of the barrel, so if you can just picture the old-timey barrels, and in each slat, it's an imaginary barrel right here, there's this slat, and each one of those represents a plant growth factor. Okay. And so if you're trying to discern, why is something not growing or why is something growing better than another, if you realize that a barrel and inside this barrel is plant growth, like the ability of this plant to grow, it's not just one factor, it's always multiple factors because there's multiple slats, right? And so let's say that, for example, right here we have Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass needs full sun. So one factor of plant growth is what's the type of plant, because other plants might do fine in the shade, but if it's Bermuda grass, then that factors into why is this plant doing what it's doing. If it's St. Augustine, it might be able to do well in the shade, but if it's Bermuda, then the type of plant, which is Bermuda grass, is not going to do so good in the shade because Bermuda needs a lot of sunshine. St. Augustine prefers a lot of sunshine, but that's another story. Um, the type of soil. So oftentimes when a yard is laid, when there's dirt work done, especially with uh, neighborhoods that where they really move a lot of dirt around into some interesting areas, a lot of times they'll just scrape the dirt away, and all that's left is just that clay subsoil as opposed to topsoil that's really good for grass growth. So soil type and different soil types within the same yard. Um, Amount of water. So you get the point. All these things, and there's so many, and I'm going to list them in the email that I send to all of you along with this video. But which slat is the shortest is going to affect your growth the most. Because if it's getting all the sunshine it needs and you've got the right plant growing in that right place and it's got the best soil, but the pH is off or the nutrients are off, then the grass is only going to grow as good as that pH or those nutrients. Or maybe all the slats, like you've got everything perfect, everything's what it's supposed to be, but it's not getting enough water. And what's enough water? That's relative. And we have a section on our website about how to water, some recommendations about watering grass. Um, and so I hope that just that short, simple explanation can help you as you in the future and in the present day now, because that's the big story right now is like, why is the grass not greening up? Uh, Sometimes your mowing height. There's 2 yards that I've seen recently, and they were both centipede, and they both got all the sun that they needed. One was mowed low in the wintertime, and one was mowed higher. Side by side, same variety of grass, same everything. The low mowed centipede did fine with those hard frosts that we got this winter. The higher mowed centipede got a lot of frost damage, and it's not doing so good. And I mean, it's just a straight line difference. You can tell it night and day. And so there's just so many things to consider, and that's what we're here for. If your yard is ever struggling and you don't know why, let us know, and we'll be glad to come and help you figure out what's wrong with it. But you can apply that barrel method to potted plants, to raised bed or in the ground gardens that you're growing, to trees. It all is going to be dependent on what's the most limiting factor, what's the most limiting plant factor. And so then, of course, it's good to get to know what are plant factors, and uh, that's oftentimes why people hire us, is because you don't know all those things. But for those of you who do want to learn more, we a professional service like Weed Warriors, we actually are really good partners with people who know how to take care of their yard, because there's only so much we can do. We can kill the weeds, we can put out fertilizer, we can control the things that are trying to take over on a massive scale, but we can't mow the way it needs to be mowed. We can't water the way it needs to be watered. We don't install sod. We are looking into, I'm going to throw this plug in there. We are looking, we're this close to getting into top dressing and aerification. So I'll just go ahead and say that if you're interested in maybe changing the type of soil or adding some soil to your existing lawn, because maybe that's one reason the grass isn't growing good. To have good roots, or to have good leaves, you have to have good roots. The roots feed the leaves and the leaves feed the roots. So you got to have good soil to have good grass on top. But if you're interested in us coming and adding some good dirt or some sand on top of your existing lawn, let us know and we'll be glad to come and give you an estimate on that as well. So I hope that helps. Let us know if you have any questions, and appreciate your business.